Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the War Podcast episode. Today, I have a few more stories for you. They take place in Ukraine, but it's worth it because we're gonna drift a little bit away from the war and towards the economic crushings that are happening. So look out below how the Ukraine-Russia war is crushing wheat prices. Hang on, technical difficulties. Okay, fixed. Alrighty. War costs a lot of money, and it's been draining the coffers. Both Ukraine and Russia tanks, warplanes, and munitions are getting destroyed on an epic level. Of course, anyone who regularly reads the world press will know this. Likely less understood by the impact the conflict is having on the global grain market, particularly wheat. It matters because wheat prices are now artificially low and could bounce back at any moment and push inflation back up once again. Both sides of the war, which are keen players in the wheat export market, are now believed to be selling at prices below the cost of production, some experts say. Something needs to change to stop Ukraine and Russia from low offering cash wheat prices that make no economic sense. Sides continue the need to fund the cost of the war effort, writes Sean Hatchett, author of the Hatchett Money Flow Committee reporter. They are likely doing so knowing that getting cash now, even at an economic loss, makes some sense if it stops the other side from winning. That's because cash means replacement material can be purchased and used against the relevant adversary. Hatchett doesn't believe the media coverage on the attacks will change that process. Specifically, selling grain at ultra-low prices won't change anything unless government restrictions are imposed or producers back off in their sales, Hatchett writes. Before the war started in late February 2022, exports of wheat from Russia and Ukraine totaled 29% of the market. That's now fallen to 14.3%, according to the world's top exports website. At least of that plunge in the market share was due to the need to lower prices to keep government coffers full. However, some of it will have been lack of labor and other resources to farm crops. Nevertheless, the current wheat market situation cannot last forever. Eventually, growing wheat at a loss will bankrupt farmers. What will it take for people to wake up? Probably a weather scare, and there are likely two coming along in the next few weeks, which could cause fear in both Russia and Ukraine, Hatchett writes. First, there will likely be a late frost in the U.S. in the first 2 weeks of May, or maybe in late March, Hatchett writes. Such a event would likely hurt crop yields, so reducing the supply of wheat when the harvest arrives. Separately, there are concerns that a growing region in southern Russia near the Black Sea is suffering from dry weather, which could be extradited by an unfavorable weather system, Hatchet report states. Recently, wheat would fetch $5.62 a bushel. According to the data from the Trading Economics, that way down from a peak of $7.50 last July. In the event of either the U.S. or Russia suffering from the forecast unfavorable weather, experts would expect the price of wheat to trend back up after months of falling. If both occur, then expect even higher prices. Of course, weather is hard to forecast, so investors should be ready to change tactics. Alrighty, thank you, Forbes, for that. And it offers us a video. So I'm going to just share my screen over and we can watch the video. It's under 2 minutes. So thank you, Forbes. And we got an ad. This is not useful. Never mind. Never mind. I thought it was something useful. I was wrong. Alrighty. Alright, we're gonna head over to Newsweek. Russia-Ukraine war analysts reveal plan to defeat Putin. Western countries backing Ukraine need to urgently increase their defense production, dedicating more military equipment to Kyiv while battling Moscow wielding of information to prevent the Kremlin from triumphing in Ukraine, according to new analysts. The West has the advantage, but it must decide to use it. The Institute of Study of War, the ISW, a U.S. think tank, said Wednesday, all it needs to do is stand up and mobilize in support of Ukraine's war effort. Mobilizing would mean surging in military production, sparring more of its existing military capabilities and economic assets, and they're accepting a higher threshold for pain and risk now to avoid more cost and pain and risk in future, the ISW said. Many Western countries have committed to arming and supporting Ukraine in more than 25 months. Kyiv has spent fighting Russia's full-scale invasion. The U.S. has been the single largest donor of military aid to Kyiv's war effort, but a new package worth $60 billion has languished for months in Congress, jeopardizing Ukraine's supplies for rockets, ammunition, air defense systems, and other vital assets. Storages that have been boxed Ukraine in a corner by limiting its operations against Russia, experts say. Worries over whether Ukraine is adequately equipped will likely worsen in the coming months. Kyiv has warned that Russia is preparing for a renewed offensive around late May and into the summer, and Moscow has been making slow but steady advances into eastern Ukraine. Western analysts say Russia's hoping to exhaust Ukraine and the support of the Western allies in a grinding war of attrition. Despite sustaining heavy casualties and sky-high equipment losses, Moscow mobilized its industries and put itself on a war footing to plug the gaps in supplies. Russia is now dedicated around the third of its state spending to defense, rolling out replacement tanks, and replenishing its missile stocks. Western governments, militaries, and companies have scaled up defense production, focusing not least on the NATO standard 155mm artillery shell that is in high demand in Ukraine. The alliance's stocks have been depleted by sending 155mm ammunition to the war-torn country. But throughout the war, Western governments have been hesitant to dedicate resources, citing fears over escalation. The Kremlin's use of precipitated manipulation or making Ukraine's backers see the world and conflict a certain way could allow Russia to win in the real world, the ISW said. The Kremlin's principal effort is to force the United States to accept the reason from Russian premises to decisions that advance Russia's interests, not ours, the think tank said. The U.S. and other countries backing Ukraine need to take several specific and immediate steps, the ISW said. These nations should give Ukraine sufficient military aid and other supports required for Ukraine to restore maneuver to the battlefield, as well as ramping up their defense industrial bases and production within Ukraine, the think tank said. The West should also help Ukraine exploit vulnerabilities in Russia's military, such as its Black Sea Fleet. The SW said Ukraine has estimated that Russia may have lost around a third of its Black Sea Fleet after Kyiv successfully targeted its vessel and bases with missiles and drones during the many months of conflict. Russia cannot defeat Ukraine or the West and will likely lose if the West mobilizes its resources to resist the Kremlin, the ISW said. So basically what's happening, everyone's bickering back and forth in Congress. Do we send more support? Do we don't know? It doesn't need it. We could use this all here. We should stop supplying them, yada yada. And it seems how election day is here, and that could depict how all of this works. But anyway, I'm going to end this episode off here. I hope you all have had a wonderful time, and make sure to like the video if you want me to continue doing this, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!